Imagine a country that built a second state, hidden beneath the first one. A country that has spent more than 60 years boring through rock, reinforcing tunnels with concrete and steel, burying its air force deep in mountain slopes, and building an underground city beneath every strategic street, accessible only to a select few. Imagine that spy satellites can photograph every roof, every sports field, and every construction site, but cannot look 300 meters into the ground, where history is really being made. This is North Korea, a country that made a deliberate strategic decision. If you cannot defeat the enemy on the surface, you must defeat him underground. And for more than 70 years, it has been consistently carrying out that decision. To understand North Korea's obsession with underground fortifications, one has to go back to the tragedy that shaped the entire military philosophy of the state. During the Korean War from 1950 to 1953, United States air power carried out one of the most intense bombing campaigns in the entire history of aviation over North Korea. Pyongyang was flattened almost literally. More bombs fell per person living there than on any other city during the Second World War. General Curtis LeMay, commander of U.S. Strategic Air Power, openly admitted that his forces destroyed in North Korea almost everything worth destroying. For Kim Il-sung and his generals, the lesson was absolute and irreversible. Whoever stays on the surface dies. Whoever goes underground survives. Since the armistice was signed in 1953, almost every military and engineering decision in North Korea has flowed directly from this simple conclusion. Kim Il-sung gave the army a precise order. Every division was to dig its own combat tunnel system with at least 4 or 5 evacuation exits. That order was taken deadly seriously and carried out for decades. According to estimates by US and South Korean intelligence, there are between 6 and 8,000 underground bunkers and shelters spread across the country. And that is only those intended for leaders, commanders, and the government. That number does not include hundreds of kilometers of military fortifications, underground air bases, ammunition depots, or infiltration tunnels leading south. The first chapter of this underground epic is the tunnels beneath the demilitarized zone, an engineering provocation hidden under a neutral strip of land. On November 15, 1974, a South Korean patrol station near Korangpo-ri noticed something peculiar. Steam was rising from the ground. One of the soldiers walked closer and put his ear to the ground. He heard voices. When he probed the soil with a bayonet, the ground gave way. The soldier fired into the opening, and bullets immediately came flying back at him from the other side. Then silence. That is how the first of the tunnels was discovered, a structure dug for years by North Korean engineers, stretching 1 kilometer south of the border and wide enough to pass 2,000 fully armed soldiers in 1 hour. During the tunnel inspection, an American naval officer and a South Korean Marine were killed by a trap. They were the first victims of the underground Cold War. 4 months later, in March 1975, the second tunnel was discovered, much larger, more than 1.5 kilometers long and nearly 2 by 2 meters in cross-section with an arched ceiling. It was wide enough to let light vehicles and artillery through, or 30,000 soldiers per hour, a force capable of changing the course of the battle for Seoul before any reinforcements could arrive. The third tunnel, perhaps the best known, called the Third Tunnel of Aggression, was discovered in October 1978, just 44 kilometers from the center of Seoul. Knowledge of it came from a defector named Kim Pu-song, who described its location to South Korean intelligence. For several years, the tunnel was searched for without success. In June 1978, North Korean mining activity caused a violent surge of water, blowing apart an older inspection borehole, and the tunnel revealed itself. It lay 73 meters underground, carved into solid granite, lined with concrete, and equipped with electric lighting and an air removal system. North Korea, caught red-handed, first claimed it knew nothing about any tunnel, then said it was an old mining shaft. The granite in which the tunnel was carved contained no coal. Today, the Third Tunnel of Aggression is a tourist attraction and can be visited. But military analysts agree, these 4 discovered tunnels are only the tip of the iceberg. It is estimated that there may be up to 16 still undiscovered tunnels of the same purpose beneath the DMZ. The next chapter is underground air bases. facilities whose very concept is an architectural feat. The North Korean army drew one indisputable conclusion from the air wars of the 20th century. Above-ground air bases would be destroyed in the first hours of any conflict. The solution is simple: hide the aircraft under mountains. North Korea has at least 3 underground air bases, in Wonsan, Jangjin, and Oncheon. The last of these, located about 47 kilometers west of Pyongyang, is especially interesting. A few kilometers south of the above-ground part of Oncheon Air Base stretches an underground complex with runways emerging directly from tunnels cut into the rock. The operational concept is simple, though almost unimaginable in its scale. MiG-29 and Sukhoi-25 fighters take off from conventional above-ground runways, but after completing their missions, they land in underground bases hidden from any aerial attack. The runway extends from the hill like a tongue. The aircraft lands and withdraws into the tunnel, and on a satellite image, you see only a rocky mountain with no signs of activity. In the very center of North Korea, in North Hamgyong Province, at the foot of Mount Mantap, lies Punggye-ri, a place whose very name has sent shivers through nuclear analysts around the world for the past 2 decades. This is where North Korea conducted all 6 of its underground nuclear tests. In 2006, 2009, 2013, 2016 twice, and 2017. Each successive test was more powerful than the last. The first had a yield of between 1 and 2 kilotons, the last, the 6th, probably around 250 kilotons, making it more than 10 times stronger than the bomb dropped on Hiroshima. The Punggye-ri site is a 17-kilometer complex of 4 tunnel systems entering the mountain from 4 different directions: east, north, south, and west. Each tunnel is built in the so-called hook layout, a zigzag corridor ending in a bend designed to trap the shock wave and radiation inside the rock after detonation. In May 2018, during the diplomatic theater accompanying preparations for the Kim-Trump summit, North Korea formally blew up the entrances to the Punggye-ri tunnels in the presence of a dozen Western journalists. Analysts at 38 North, a site devoted to observing North Korea, pointed out what was not shown. The tunnels themselves remained intact. The unused branches of the system were not part of the public demolition. Most of the administrative facilities in the entire complex still stand today. Satellite cameras documented activity on the site as late as November 2020. A completely separate and less spectacular, but strategically equally important category, consists of combat bunkers along the border. In 2004, a North Korean defector revealed to South Korean intelligence that near the DMZ, in just one location, a bunker system had been built capable of simultaneously housing from 1,500 to 2,000 fully armed soldiers, ready for an immediate attack. At least 800 similar facilities were built, and that is only those that were identified. That number does not include shelters used as artillery firing positions. North Korea has hundreds of natural caves and dozens of rock-cut positions, from which 170mm Koksan guns and 240mm multiple rocket launchers can operate. The mechanism is elegant in its simplicity. A gap in the mountainside opens, the gun rolls out on rails, fires a burst, and retreats back into the rock, all within a few dozen seconds. From orbit, nothing can be seen but a rock face. Seoul lies within range of this artillery. It is estimated that in the first few hours of an intense attack, North Korea could strike its neighbor's capital with tens of thousands of shells, without a single visible opening at the edge of the earth. The Kumchang-ri complex, discovered by U.S. intelligence in 1989, is a story of its own, a story of suspicion, diplomatic wrangling, and eventual disappointment. CIA satellite images then showed the construction of extensive underground facilities with pipelines and tunnels. Washington accused Pyongyang of building a secret uranium enrichment plant or nuclear warhead production facility. North Korea, under negotiating pressure and after lengthy bargaining, agreed to let American inspectors in twice in 1999 and 2000 in exchange for food deliveries. The inspectors went inside and found empty, hollow corridors, Zero nuclear equipment, zero fissile material, nothing. Was the facility specially cleared before the inspection? Was it intended for something else from the beginning? Was it a complex disinformation operation? That is still unknown today. Yet the very fact that North Korea built a vast underground complex that it could over the years turn into an apparently empty shelter is proof of how deep the gap is between what is visible and what exists. At the very end of this list stands the facility about which the least is known and which raises the greatest fears. Near Yongbyon, North Korea's main nuclear center, visible from orbit and catalogued by the International Atomic Energy Agency, analyst Jacob Bogle published a report in 2020 for 38 North, revealing the existence of at least one previously publicly unidentified underground installation. This complex, located near a river and a mountain slope, has road and rail infrastructure typical of an active facility, and it was built precisely at the time when the world was watching the nuclear race continue behind diplomacy's back. In 2016, Kim Jong-un announced a new strategy, rapid parallel nuclear and economic progress known as Byungjin. Leave a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and be sure to watch the next episode, which is already waiting for you.